My Lords, I rise finding myself in an entirely familiar position in agreeing with everything said by the noble lady Baroness Boycott, and particularly her reflections on the stranglehold that farmers have over the life of supermarkets have over the life of farmers in this country. However, I find myself from these benches in the unusual position of disagreeing with both the fatal motion from the Liberal Democrats and the regret motion from the Labor benches. And that, at base, is because the shift away, if we were to indeed not be taking the steps that the SI delivers, that would see, as calculated by the RSPB, £770 million taken away from helping farmers take action on climate change, reducing water pollution, planting trees and restoring nature. It's worth noting that under the Environmental Improvement Plan, 90% of the funding for tree planting to meet the target of 16.5% of England to be covered by trees by 2050, 90% of that depends on ELMS funding. 80% of progress in terms of nitrogen, phosphorus and sediment pollution from agriculture depends on ELMS funding. That's not to say, of course, that there are not, as the Right Reverend Prelate and the Noble Duke, the Duke of Wellington and others have pointed out, huge problems with where we are. The website Carbon Brief has a very useful interactive table that lists the 270 activities that the farmers can undertake to earn payments, particularly from SFI and CS schemes. 39 of those 270 are still at the planning stage, yet we are seeing the base payments cut away. Now, it is worth noting that there is, the Noble Lord the Minister will be surprised to hear I'm going to pass a small bouquet in his direction, because the Soil Association has just acknowledged that payments for organic farming are rising by an average of 25% via the Countryside Stewardship Scheme, and this is a real recognition of the benefits of organic production. But picking up the points about small farms, it's worth noting, and perhaps the Noble Lord the Minister could write to me later about this, but in Wales, they're looking to reduce the size of farms that are eligible for farm payments down to 3 hectares, or alternatively, to farming businesses that rely on 550 hours of labour per year. Will the government be looking at helping those smaller producers, particularly most likely horticulture and perhaps small-scale livestock producers, to be doing that? But, and I suspect the Noble Lord the Minister knew there was a but coming, whilst my reason for regretting the Labor regret motion is, as the Noble Lord the Minister identified, the fact that what farmers, all land managers in the UK need now a certainty about the future, long-term plans. If you're going to plant trees, if you're going to plant herbal leys, you need to not know what's just happening this year or next year, but long-term into the future. And I do think that the Labor regret motion will deliver a degree of uncertainty to farmers about where, given where we are in the electoral cycle, where they might be in 2 or 3 years' time in terms of these schemes that the current Conservative government has introduced. However,
I honestly don't think my regret motion does that at all. What we are trying to do is point out that the transition has not been straightforward and is not working either for the environment or farmers properly, and that the government needs to urgently revalue their approach to the ongoing transition in order to actually get this to work for everybody. So I honestly don't think that my regret motion says that.
I thank the noble lady for the reassurance that I hope that farmers around the country will actually hear and feel as a degree of certainty, because I think that certainty is, as I was saying, what they need. However, I am going to get to the part where I will criticise the government, because what we need with these kind of policies is a method of policy making by consensus. And what we have in other countries particularly with proportional representation electoral systems where there is decision-making that is arrived at by consensus, it would have been better if this had been constructed in a more stable, secure way in consultation with all parts of our political system, in a way that really delivers the certainty that farmers need. And that as has been said from all sides of your Lordship's House, is not the position that farmers are in today with the certainty that they need.